Good evening, everyone. Uh, Today we're going to talk about debates, um, and the problems with debates. And this one is particularly interesting. It involves two people that have even mentioned me, used my content and all that stuff. Well, at least Coach Greg Adams has. So they may see this. I hope they don't. But uh, So, for the most part, we're in this part of society where things are changing. There's a lot of whiplash for the average man. Just a generation or two ago, marriage was like normal thing to do. Like it wasn't something you overthought, or it wasn't something that you kind of had to worry about. It just happened. Eventually, if you went to college or if you just lived life, a girl will marry you. Now it just seems like we don't know what to do. We have this technology, which was marriage, which was designed. Um, it was designed to kind of marriage had a purpose, right? It's a technology that was supposed to do things to help the greater good. Um, and guys still believe that because they think, well, if people don't get married, it's the end of the world. And if you're religious, if you don't get married, you're going to hell, right? Or you can't get your needs met. If you try to get your needs met outside of marriage, you're going to hell. Whatever. So marriage has always been like kind of like a yoke or an obligation thing, and they've sold it to men as, hey, if you get married, you get to have sex and you get love and you get these nice little moments with children and it's good for the children and all that stuff, right? And those seem to be the arguments for marriage, and then the ones against are like, hey, you can get divorced and lose it all. And yeah, uh, the, these debates are going to go on forever, right? And it's funny because the more we debate about this, um, the more it becomes apparent that the debating about this is useless because none of us have a say in what marriage is anymore. We don't get to define it, right? We have no power as men. We don't have much power in marriage, but we can get into that later. We can get into that later. Marriage is not something that um, it doesn't give you purpose. It doesn't really help anyone. It helps your kids, right? I guess to an extent, but it's not. It doesn't mean that you're awesome. Anyone can get married. Anyone can pop the question. It doesn't mean anything, right? Um, it's a very interesting to see that people still hold on to marriage as something very important or very life changing. When in reality, it's like you're paying for a princess party to have the same relationship. Do you understand? Um, and on another note, when guys do get married on their terms, whenever they say people don't like it either, right? Like look at the representative. Was it Thomas Massey who his wife passed last year, and he married a younger, hotter chick almost immediately, and he's happy, and she's happy, and his family's happy, but everyone has a problem with that, right? Because so even if we do marriage. The issue is like no society is never going to be happy, right? Until men are completely yoked with their hands tied behind their back and pulling plows. Women are not going to. The society in general is not going to be happy, right? So let's say people are like, get married, and then you marry a woman that's younger and hotter because your wife passed. People are gonna be like, no, not like that, right? Um, your constituents, your followers, the people that voted for you, your friends, family, whatever, they're all going to be like, wait, not like that. We don't like it like that. And you see, that's the issue here, right? And I think that's the problem with this debate. So it's I haven't seen the debate, right? And I really don't care who won because it's debates are not about winning, right? Debates are about your audience versus the other audience and all that stuff. But it's good to see two people where they come from in terms of their things on marriage and relationships and all that stuff, their views. And I'm going to kind of give you guys a red pill kind of uh sidebar sane take on what they're saying because a lot of the times they're not coming from a place of their own mental point of origin. They're coming from a place of ideology, fear, like putting their needs last. and all that stuff. So let's just get this started. And invite. Nope. Share screen. Oh wait, I gotta share tab audio. Okay. Alrighty. So cool. Where is it? All right. So I think this is big enough. Um, theater mouth. There we go. Alrighty. I was watching a little bit while I was cooking. All right, they're on their phones. Let's get this started. I'm just gonna skip around, guys. As I'm just gonna pick things that I haven't really like picked. I'm just gonna go. It doesn't matter where you go in a debate. You can pretty much surmise or summarize what they're trying to tell you.
Sure, he can bring it in.
Okay, so
It sounds great on paper, but we can't travel to the land of make believe. It sounds great. The majority of people probably wouldn't do it. And if you ask a guy, which this is an important part, they're not even prepared to even talk about that. They don't even know what divorce laws are. So you're asking them to travel to the land of make believe under a marriage system that small percentage of people use. No one uses it today. You might have said they used it to the past. Today, that doesn't exist. So we can't travel to the land of make believe to make marriage work for you. It
Well,
might work in your marriage, but it doesn't work for the greater structure.
your argument here.
okay, so typical Coach Greg Adams. Uh, sorry, let me over here. Typical Coach Greg Adams points are, hey, um, to think that you can just let God or let religion or whatever your faith is guide your marriage and hope for the best is not a good. It's not a good plan. Um, there is like his main points are there is no God of marriage. There is no when you get divorced. Your pastor's not going to be there. Your family's not going to be there. It's going to be you, her, the judge, and her lawyer, and your lawyer, and it's never gonna be like a religious process or anything like that. It's gonna be a "F you, take everything from this guy," right? And, I'm not saying all divorces are equal. Some divorces are kind of amicable, right? I've seen them too, but you can't bank on that, and that's what he's saying. It's just something that's not a good deal for men. Now, I am not of the camp of instilling fear in men, because making decisions based on fear is, or not, or abstaining from fear isn't always. It shows lack of frame, right? Like you're looking for someone to convince you or not to convince you of something, and being afraid of not being, being outcome independent. Part of that is like, hey, whatever happens, happens. So if you decided one day to get married, right? You understand that she is a person and she can leave you whenever you want. And if you can't handle that, then you have no business being married. However, if you're the type of person that says, "Yep, she could leave tomorrow and I'm ready for that," sure, I can be married, right? You have to be of the mentality that there is no one else that can incentivize your woman to marry you except you. Is that always true? No. Sometimes she'll look at maybe her drunk sister who's miserable and her age but single, and she'll be like, "You know what? I'm gonna stay married." Sometimes she'll see a romantic comedy or a romantic movie and get feelings and realize, "Man, my husband really is awesome," right? So there are little external factors that may influence women, but you are the number one incentivizer to keep a woman with you. So when you guys talk about fear, and when men talk about fear and getting married and the divorce and all that stuff, what they're saying is, I don't I cannot incentivize. I don't have the skills to incentivize women to stay with me. On the other side of that, um, you cannot 100% think that no matter how awesome you are, how much game you think you have, how muscular or how much money or whatever you think you are, that you can keep a woman married to you, right? You're not perfect. Women are perfect. People change, things change, and there is a chance that even if you do everything right, she will leave you, and not even in a nice way. Like she could cheat on you, she could go crazy, she could end up being an alcoholic, she could beat your kids, beat you. You don't know, right? So let's move on.
contradicts itself because, on the one hand, you say men don't know enough about marriage, but my assumption is that your mission is to let men know about marriage.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, then I don't understand how it's the land of make believe if you can let them know about this, but I can't.
Sure.
Right.
And you can offer that.
So if
You
I
can
am,
So, what Andrew's saying here is that your suffering makes you the guy to go to talk about um marriage and whether it's good or bad, right? And listen, as much as I kind of agree during this debate, I kind of agree with Coach Greg Adams. At the same time, we cannot you cannot decide for men, right? Men are the ones, and that's really what this debate is about. Is men when they watch debates, they just cannot decide for themselves. They're afraid of deciding for themselves, right? And that's really when it comes down to with these debates is that men don't know. Men are unsure. They need someone to tell them if it's a good idea or not, or should they or shouldn't they, right? Like that guy that called in on was it Nick Fuentes show that says, "Hey, I have a Dominican girlfriend. She's not white, but she's amazing. She cooks for me. I'm in love with her. Should I get married?" Right? And that you know, men like that are the ones that kinda I wouldn't say deserve, but it just looks to me like they're the type of guy that would get cheated on and all that stuff, right? Because they are the type of dude that they need permission to do things from other men that they don't even know, they don't care about them, right? So, neither of these men really care about you. You understand what I'm saying? They care about their brand and their ideas getting out there, and by proxy, the ideas of their church or their followers or whoever they have to, uh, kind of appeal to. And that's why guys in the red pill say, hey, it's like, listen, dude, if you want to get married, it's up to you. It's not up to us. It's not up to me. It's not up to anyone in the chat. It's not up to anyone on earth but you. You're the one. Now, um, if you so decide to follow someone's advice, great. But at the end of the day, it still comes back to you and your decision. And the only thing we say is like, hey, objectively speaking, it's not a good deal. It is not a good deal. It does not it does not look good on paper. It does not look good in theory. It's just not a good deal to get married, right? But we also say, if you do decide to get married, here are some mental models. A lot of them for being single apply to being married. Good luck. And yeah, so
offer
it
that.
sounds like I'm offering a real alternative to what you're offering. And here's what you're offering. Men, marriage is great. It's a great institution. It's the best for children. These are your words. In marriage, right? Men seem to thrive. Their health seems to thrive. Everything seems to thrive. You're saying, well, the problem is that divorce rates are high, and they are. However, there's a few things there that you haven't covered. One, it depends on demographic too. For instance,
Absolutely.
if you're black, it's going to be way worse than if you're white.
Correct.
Okay, way worse. And also, socioeconomics matters, right? Demographics in general matter. So you can do a lot, actually, including prenuptial agreements. You can have a prenuptial agreement with the ecclesiastical authority without the state even involved, and it seems like that would mitigate your risk to damn near nothing.
okay. This is interesting, right? This kind of shows um where this guy's mentality is at, right? So he goes on to say like, hey, if we use stats, like, hey, don't marry women of this socioeconomic class, of this race, ethnicity, don't do this, right? Again, it's like you're it's almost like the presupposition that men have to get married, right? And they feel this threat by some entity, whether it be God or the state or women or their status quo or their family, their friends, their own girlfriend. They have to get married, right? And they're trying it's just like they have it just sounds like two men that are like have two guns like you know what it feels like. It feels like two guys, there's like some German World War II soldiers pointing guns at them off screen, right? And they're trying to uh under threat of death, trying to discuss with each other how to deal best with being prisoners, right? And see, there's just like this prisoner mentality where it's just like, hey, if you eat this slop instead of the other slop, you'll have a healthier life in prison. Or if you eat this or do this, or if you say this to the guards, they'll treat you a little bit better, right? It just seems like a very prison uh, slave plow horse mentality to just discuss how to get fucked less. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately, for guys that get it, for guys that date, for guys that are good with women, getting half of your stuff taken away is not the worst thing, right? And this is how I know a guy's good with women and a guy's like gets it and he's fully red pilled and he's read the sidebar and he's gone through the motions is that men, the way they look at marriage isn't that they're sacrificing money and time because you can always make that back. Easy for me to say because I'm single, never been divorced or married, right? Easy for me to say. But for guys that get it, it's not we're not scared of the whole women leaving thing, right? Yeah, it looks like it sucks, right? But like I've seen the average man and I've seen enough divorce cases through friends and family and on the internet and all that stuff where a lot of the reasons men do so badly during a divorce, right? It's just they don't have the tools to deal with women's behavior, right? But I have the tools. I've read all of married red pill guys' work, right? I've had their books. I've traded notes with guys, and I have the top best creators in my DMs if I ever needed help one on one, right? And they probably do it for free, knowing them. So what guys that get it really worry about is the opportunity cost of marriage, right? So it's like Bill Burr said, right? That one quote by Bill Burr, I think Jack knows, and I think Mish knows it, where the real loss isn't like ending up in your 30s on a futon mattress, um, with no family or kids, right? That's not being a loser. Being a loser is having kids that hate you, a wife that won't fuck you, or a wife that sees you as like a unit of sacrifice, right? Um, you're going to wish you had that futon to sleep on. Not saying that you can't be happy in a marriage, right? It's that's how guys with options think. And the reason we think like this is because we've given nothing to women except sex and maybe plan a date, drinks, whatever, and they've given us better treatment than most married women give their men. And that is why we fear, not say fear, but we're very kind of like ugh about marriage. It's not the money and the divorce thing. And I want you guys to understand that you can make the money back. As a matter of fact, a lot of guys, according to the married red pill guys like Chesty, Ryan, Archwinger, um, guys realize that so many things when they leave a marriage that it makes the divorce so much easier. One of the things they realize is that hey, being divorced, they spend less money than when they were married, including child support. They're like, wow, I have all this extra money. And I'm like, yeah, because yeah, you had to pay for kids and stuff, but like women like to spend on stupid stuff. So there you go. It's just this is what I'm talking about, guys. It's not the money. You can make the money back. As a matter of fact, a lot of divorced men, as long as they're not complete losers, right, will uh do better as fathers and as employees and as everything, right? It's just the women was dead weight in their life. And now um they're divorced and they have more time. They're more when the time they get with their kids, they're more locked in and being able to be better parents. So this is what I'm saying, guys. Like this anxiety over if you get divorced, it's the end of the world, and if you stay married, it's like that's the only way to get into heaven. Both of these mentalities are it sucks, right? It's just like it feels like there's this German World War II soldier saying, like like holding you hostage or prisoner, and we're just discussing ways to um make that soldier happy so he won't beat us later, right? That's what a way to live, right? So yeah, and that's like what Jack's saying is just which is the typical futon sleeping bachelor gets called out so much by the married guy who seeks validation to not feel like a loser, right? And that's why they keep telling me I'm a degenerate, or telling Jack or any one of these guys that we're degenerates. It's like, no, we like women, we have normal relationships with women, right? It's just that we're not seeking we're not afraid of outcomes, right? Like if I decide to get married, Obviously, your friends will give you a hard time, like, oh no, ball and chain, whatever, great. But at the same time, I'm like, tomorrow she can file a divorce if she wants. What's gonna happen? Well, I have it's gonna be shitty for a couple months, but like that's life. And then once you leave the divorce, you're gonna do fine. Right? I trust myself to always do fine. So continuing on.
You said if about 50 times
So did
today.
you.
Now, here's what I'm telling you.
So
I'm
did
telling you
you.
when, all right? We're already in this system. You're going outside of the system to create a scenario for me to argue
What
against.
system are you going outside of?
We're talking about marriage is typically done with the state. Almost everyone does it this way.
Typically
so now
is
you're
not-
here's hold
is
on for a
not
second. Hold on for a
must.
second. You've
Typically
moved the
doesn't mean
goalposts.
anything.
You've moved the goalpost to a scenario of if. And you're arguing from
is.
the if. No,
Is.
hold on for a second. You're arguing from the if perspective.
Is perspective.
No, listen.
It is.
Give me a
is
chance to
perspective.
listen.
All right,
Give
I'll
me
give
a
you
chance.
Go ahead.
You're arguing from a very small percentage point. Now you're saying demographics, and we can talk about that, but you're still trying to get me to argue in your cloud of if. That's the land of make believe. Most people, by far, are married to the state. Not only that, your land of make believe still exists. The prenup with the ecclesiastics, you can write whatever you want in that prenup. It only matters in the divorce. That's the reality. So I'm still dealing in reality. You're in the clouds. Hold on for a second. You're in the clouds. So let's take the demographics.
Okay.
In your scenario, it sounds like, which would be fair, your primary concern is with white people.
No, it's with
Hold
all
on for a
people.
second. You said with black people, the demographics, the chance is high.
Yeah.
So have you discovered the ecclesiastics approach to black people married within this?
Yes.
However, their demographics, economics, which all do affect marriage, has nothing to do in the land of the clouds or the make-believe with ecclesiastics. It's all going to boil down to in the law. And there's no church reverend that's going to go into your household to make sure there's social pressure on your wife. Do you know?
All right, so this one's important, right? What he's saying is within the confines of marriage, you cannot rely on whatever incentive structure your wife has to stay married, right? Whether it be her mother or her family or church or the pastor, whatever, um, the state, because all it does, guys, right, is that it's just going to create it's just going to have to generate for her. She has to generate a more crazy excuse to leave you. So if you have no fault divorce and your wife no longer loves you, things didn't work out, got it, it's a tragedy, whatever. She can just walk out and say differences. We had our differences. But if a girl is under the pressure of family, friends, or a church or a pastor, she has to say that you abused her in order to leave, or that you did this, or you gambled, or it's just exaggerating, right? And that's just going to make it even more painful because now you're going to have less leverage to keep your kids and have a amicable divorce. It's going to be a painful experience, right? So that's what we're saying here is that um, you want the ability for women to walk in and out of marriage easily, right? And I know it sounds shitty, but it's to protect you. That no fault divorce shit protects men more than it does women. Because if a woman leaves you, it sucks, yeah, and all that stuff, got it. But also, if a woman wants to leave you, she can do so without ruining your life in the process. She can just say, I hate him because he sucks, and then leave. She doesn't have to say, oh, he touched me without my consent, like marital R word. So it's just like, you know, we gotta be smart here. I know it's not fair. I know it sucks, but like I would rather the lesser of two evils. So yeah, it's feedbacking. All right, so I'll just mute my mic while it's playing.
Know
Yes,
any?
sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know any that can cover all marriages? That
Yes.
answer is no.
Yes. And by the way, when you keep
Are we in? We're not arguing
I was
anything
just
legitimate.
trying. I was just
This
trying.
is this is in the land of make believe.
Well, when
We
I'm
don't have
allowed to
enough-
respond, let me
Okay,
know.
give me a second.
Go ahead.
Let me finish this point.
Go ahead.
You're imagining. Your imagination is great. John Lennon would be great. You would be proud of you at this particular point.
But I'm imagining all the people.
You're imagining all the people under a situation and a structure that you brought in here. All right. But the state highly governs this, and the state highly governs divorce. I'm dealing in a reality situation where I'm trying to counsel men to give information to. The best thing you've told me is that you're willing to give men the option to do this. Are they willing to all do this option? The answer is probably not, just like they're not willing to do what I'm telling you them to do. However, we're both attempting, which is a good thing, it's noble. However, your situation rarely exists. Can we talk about the reality of what exists?
Sure.
Absolutely. So let's take your moral religious crusade out of it and talk about the reality.
The thing is, you can't take the morality out of it, right? Because marriage to him is it's a religious thing, right? It's like part of the religion. It's what you do. Um, I think it's Orthodox Catholic. I'm not sure, but that it's just so ingrained. Like to say that, oh, take religion out of the equation is not, I don't think he can see it that way. And for Coach Greg Adams, he says that, hey, uh, here's the reality. It's the state, blah blah blah. So you guys know what the next argument's gonna be, right? You guys understand. Like now, it's gonna be, um, well, you don't have to get married with the state, right? Okay. So all marriage debates go the fucking same. They're all the freaking same. Don't get married, do get married. Well, if you do get married, you'll be right with God. Well, I don't believe in God, or I don't think God is going to help me in a divorce. Well, that's because you're not godly enough. Okay, what does that mean? Well, you have to be more godly. I'm like, okay, cool. We're stuck there, so that's never going to go nowhere. And the other thing is like, well, if you're so scared, then why don't you not get married with the state? And then the counter to that is, well, what about common law? Like, I think Texas is 10 years, 8 years here in Texas for common law marriages to take effect, right? And all that stuff. Well, and then they'll be like, well, if 10 years in she hasn't divorced you, then it's a pretty good chance she won't divorce you then. And then, the argument downstream of that is, well, like maybe she's waiting, or maybe, women change and they want to divorce you, blah, blah. And that's, guys, that's every debate. I promise you, that is every debate. It's just they're trying to sell uh, marriage to people that don't want to get married, and they're trying to sell not getting married to people that do get want to get married. And you're not. It's just like a political debate. The issues they disagree on are too wide for debates to even matter sometimes, right? In the war for men's souls and their sacrifice, which is what this all of conservatism is, and Democrats and political and all that bullshit. It's just they both want the same thing. They want men's souls, esoteric words, right? No, but they want men's sacrifice, right? When men are yoked, when men are tied to a state, to a religion, to a content creator, to an ideology, right? Whether it be by fear, whether it be by telling them there's nothing wrong with them and everything wrong with everyone else, whatever. Um, that's where everyone wants. It's what's always been in history about young men. Letting young men decide for themselves what they want. No one wants that, right? We are the only people, the guys who make red pill content, to ask men in the face and be like, listen, dude, what do you want? And they're like, well, I want to get married. No, no, not about marriage, not about everyone else. What do you want as a guy? You personally, what do you want? And they're like, well, I want to live near my friend. No, no, not your friends, not your cousins, not your wife. Forget about everyone else. If you could right now snap your fingers and have the life you want that doesn't involve anyone else, how would it look like? And they don't know. And the reason they don't know is because they've been trained since they were little boys that everything is like they're the last person they should think about. Like, and that's why becoming your mental point of origin is so important, is because when you start putting yourself first, right, you start seeing the world differently, how it treats you, right? um Men start spitting in your face because you're not yoked, because you're doing what you want on your terms. Men that wish to be you but they're too afraid to, um spit on you too. They don't like that. And this is what I'm saying, like the debates, none of these debates kind of, maybe they have good points, maybe, right? And I know how these debates usually turn out, but no one's asking young men what they want, right? Outside of marriage, right? Who cares about marriage, really? Whose job is it to convince you to get married? It's not Coach Greg Adams or Andrew Wilson. It's women. and you see how there's no women at the table right now. And this is the interesting thing about debates. The problem with this, right, that I see is that women are the ones that are in charge of this horse shit, right? You are the prize, right? All these guys say, I'm the prize, but they worry about marriage like they got to actively be a active participant in convincing themselves. Listen, just like your employer has to convince you to come to work every day with a check and being treated like with dignity and respect and not overloading you with work, same thing is with women, right? uh Men want to get married. You shouldn't want to get married. That should not be a goal, right? You should think, well, it'd be nice if I could, yeah, but I got other things. And that's attracted to women, that mentality. Number two, it frees you from this. You don't have to worry about whether marriage is a good or bad deal. You just leave it up to the girl. Hey, good luck, you know as long as you treat me nice, I'll be around, but good luck. So yeah.
Yeah, let's
Are you
not.
willing to do that?
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
See, you're not willing to do that
Well,
because it's all based on your reality.
Guess what? It's a debate, and I will argue my points from my view, how I see fit. It's not for you to cover.
But what I'm not going to do is expect
not
to
my
be arguing
government.
from the land of make believe.
Yeah, but it's
okay.
not, you
All
don't-
right. So
okay,
anybody
yeah,
have
my turn.
Anybody
Relax.
have the anybody have the sound of
It's the Amish, right? Do you know what the divorce rate is among them? It's almost non-existent, yet they're still governed by the same laws of the land that you're speaking to. So sounds like if I give a counter, if I say, look, I can give you a way, a methodology in which you can utilize the religious ecclesiastical institution which has existed for 2,000 years and has right now the lowest divorce rates, right this second as we speak, not in make-believe land, not hundreds of years in the future, right this second, as opposed to the system you have of common law divorce, which is sky high and you can't do anything about it. That's what is true. So pointing out what is true is right now you can have a prenup. That is true. What is true is prenups are usually held up in court. That is.
What did I say, guys? The prenup thing, right? It's just all marriages are stepped, all marriage debates are stepped in this manner. It's just it's based on, hey, get a prenup. And like I will agree with Andrew, a prenup, they do work, guys. Like they do work. The problem is that a lot of guys get cheap ass prenups. A lot of guys don't go to an actual good lawyer. You pay what you get for with lawyers. If you go online and you print one out, out of one of these legal sites, yeah, it's going to be a shitty prenup, right? But if you pay $2,000 and say, look, listen, what am I on the hook for? Can I make a prenup? And if your wife's there, um, you know, it, the couples that can sit down before a marriage and discuss these things and sign prenups usually are the couples that don't need them in the first place, right? That's the what was his name? That lawyer, that famous New York lawyer, I forgot his name, but that's what he says, and I tend to. It makes sense to me because if a woman is mature enough to be like, "Hey, I love this guy, but things can happen. I can fall out of love. It's opportunity. Not live in this um, la la land of hey, love conquers all bullshit or God or something that like, hey, things can end, right? But here's the thing. Andrew mentions I don't know if it's now or later. He says that, oh, you can sign a prenup. So he himself admits that you need some kind of uh, insurance because the marriage can end. So even he has to admit, right? Hey, your fear of getting married is real. It's real because I'm suggesting that if you're so scared, sign a prenup. And I'm like, well, then you agree, right? Do you agree that, like I agree too that prenups work. There's a reason they exist, right? And I've seen them work. Um, Lawyers say they work. If you go to a divorce lawyer now, they don't get thrown away in court or anything, right? But at the same time, it's interesting to see someone admit without admitting that marriage is not a good deal and that you need a document to not get destroyed by your future ex-wife.
True. What is true is that you can have a marriage outside of a state because it's a religious institution anyway. You never have to have a license with the state. It's never been necessary. And if you do, the only way that that can be done is if it's sacramental. And if it's sacramental, it's governed now by the church. That's going to be the community the women are a part of. And so the thing is like, that sounds like a real viable solution. What's yours? More fucking degeneracy? Go out and play the field, hump a lot of chicks? How's that going to help anybody do anything? That's been the progressive.
Okay, so here's the part of like whole like, hey, they don't like when men do what they want to do on their terms, right? They have to be yoked to something. And he says like, well, the alternative to getting married is just to hump a lot of chicks and all that stuff. And I'm just like, well, how does that help anyone? Well, it helps me. I want to get laid, you know? Like, and we're not getting anywhere, right? It's just it all boils down to men don't get to decide their destiny. That this is something inevitable, that you have to do this, and it's destroying men's lives, right? Because men don't know, they're clueless or naive, and you have to sign up, right? Um, I don't think you should be fearful, right? I don't agree with CJ's position that it should be some kind of like dark doom and gloom thing to get married, but I also don't agree with the um this, I don't want to say the word, but I might get canceled. Suicidal optimism, right? Because you want to get into heaven, right? These people want to get into heaven, and in order to get into heaven, they have to do these things. So them getting into heaven, marriage, a miserable marriage, is a small cost for eternal salvation. You understand? And if you don't believe in that, then where do you go? There is no. You see what I'm saying? To him, marriage is the cost of eternal salvation, and we can't do this. We can't say men that are secular, men that don't believe in this stuff, um, to do that, because men are also being driven to like near death, or what's the highest demographic of unaliving to men? It's men after divorced after 40, right? And we need to stop with the suicidal optimism of just like, hey, just get a prenup, just get this, just get that, right? Because it's not, again, guys, it's not the fucking money. It's not always the money. It's your identity as a man is gone. Like, men have been taught their whole lives to sacrifice for others. And when you finally look at your ex-wife and she says, I don't need you anymore, get out of my life. You're not important to the kids. You're just not, your sacrifice is no longer needed. Goodbye. Right. That's why we say plow horses get sent where? To the glue factory. And I'm telling you, if my wife took child support, let's say I had 3 kids and she took my child support, and I was living in some apartment across town, I had to move, and she had the house and all that stuff. Right. But if she still bitched and nagged me and said, like, "You need to be a father, come hang out with your kids," and all that stuff, and made it easy for me to continue being a father, I would be happy. I would be like, "Okay, well, she's a bitch of a ex-wife, but she understands that I'm important," right? But what's happening is that women are fighting for the completely erase the man from the children's lives, the good memory of them, anything he's ever done, and the reason men are suffering so much is that they're not red pill. They don't understand female behavior. They don't understand that their sacrifice means nothing to women. Their devotion means nothing to women. And when they get there, uh, they have no reason to live, right? Because their reason to live was to sacrifice for others. So humping other women a lot is actually good for you, because it finally convinces you that you are the most important thing in the world, right? And it helps you also when you get to that point, when you are in the jaws or in the belly of the beast, like Coach Greg Adams likes to say, um, you have options. Your only option isn't, since I have no one to sacrifice for, then then what's my purpose? And take a permanent solution to a temporary problem. You can be like, well, cool. I'm a villain. I've been a villain before. Everyone hates me. I've done everything right. People still hate me. All right, time to move on. And that's it. You know? So, yeah.
Progressive mantra for 100 years. Isn't it wonderful? Your turn.
All right, we're returning back to Earth now. First things 1st. When it comes to this, back in reality, there's no God in marriage. So
You go, the next step, there is no God in marriage. That's always the next step. Like, hey, we can say that if you want to get to heaven, you can, um you can say if you want to get to heaven, you have to believe in God and all that stuff. But then guys like, hey, my wife was a different woman in the divorce court. She wasn't a godly woman. She was an angry, spiteful, vengeful woman. You know, she wanted to destroy me. She didn't even care about the kids. She just wanted me away from them. So, yeah.
Mr. Sky Daddy, God, religion, that's all great, but there's no God in marriage. At this particular point, when you go through a marriage, if one person decides to not obey the Holy Bible or whatever you're thumping, you have no basis to keep that marriage together. If she decides to leave the church and decides not to listen or excommunicate herself, she's now under the state.
Agree.
Now, when you're getting divorced, which I'm assuming you've been divorced,
Well, I mean, that's a hell of an assumption to make.
have you been divorced?
I mean,
have you been married?
Can you tell me if you can tell me how that has any merit?
Give me
to
a
the
second,
debate?
because if you've been through one, you would know that there's no God in the divorce court, in the
I
family
see.
court. There's no God in there. No one asked
There
you.
is the state.
Of course, CJ is gonna bring up, hey, the fact that, hey, you don't know ball, right? You don't know what it is to go through what I went through, right? The whole my victimhood thing and all that stuff. And I guess to an extent, um, I look at it like this, right? My father joined the military. He had a rough time. He had a very rough time, especially in the beginning. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. The end of his career was pretty nice because he got a shore duty where it was in the tropics, it was in Puerto Rico and all that stuff. But he said before that it kind of sucked, right? He was deployed a lot. There was racism in the Navy back in the day. He wasn't around the best coworkers. He didn't choose the best rate or job, right? And so he would be the type of person to try to tell you, "Hey, don't join the military. It's dumb, blah blah blah." But here's what my dad did. He said, "Hey, you're smart. You have a gift. Become a nuclear electronics technician. Run plants. It'll set you up for life. Don't do the same mistakes I did. This is what I did wrong." Right? And because of that, I joined the military, and it did suck. It sucked, but like in a different way. But I heeded his advice, and a lot of things there's a lot of pain that I kind of like dodged, right? And I would say military being an institution that requires an extreme amount of commitment to is similar to marriage in that there's people that done marriage wrong. They go through it, they get divorced, and then they look back and they're like, "Man, I made a lot of mistakes, or I didn't know better." But if I tell someone else what I wish I would have known when I was younger, and they're set on going into the military, at least it would help them. And they'll still go through some pain, but it'll be several magnitudes or one magnitude less than I did. And I think that's kind of like a healthier way to talk to these guys. Like that's how I talk. Like, hey, I went through this. Like I spun plates and had long-term casual relationships. And I'll tell you right now, long-term casual relationships hurt, right? There's expectations and all that stuff. So instead of saying, hey guys, get married or just fuck, or like, I tell men, hey, a long-term casual relationship is great, right? Because you find out what you want, she finds out what she wants, you get practice, but you have to have a lot of emotional discipline because the girl can hurt you or disappear overnight, or she could slowly, tug at your heart and bond with you and then be gone. Like so many things could happen, right? But instead of saying, "Hey, these hoes ain't shit," I say, "Hey guys, you can enjoy it. Just here's what I did that was wrong. Here's what I did that was right. Good luck if you decide to do it." Right? And I think Coach Greg Adams, he's a divorce coach, right? But what guys need from men that have gone through shitty situations is not don't do it at all. It's here's what I did wrong. It's more useful, and because sometimes you just can't change a man's mind, right? I think you can't change the guys that follow Andrew Wilson are probably you can't change their mind, right? They want to get married. Do they know why? No. Are they going to learn their lesson maybe one day? Sure, maybe. But instead of be like, listen, guys, this is what you don't do, and that is more useful to those men because I look at it like this: I cannot tell guys what to do. I cannot tell men what to do. I can never. It's not my place. Even if they're super young, or even if they're a family member, I'd be like, "Hey, dude, good luck. If you want to get married, if you want to join the military, if you want to do this, have at it, bro." But at the same time, I'll always give them a disclaimer. Hey, listen, in the military, this happens. In marriage and relationships and this and that, this happens. It sucked. don't do it. Don't let it be you. This is what, and because at the end of the day, let's say he finds out 5 years in, he does want to be married. Like, this isn't so bad. And that advice did help me. Right. So this thing about like, hey, you know ball, I don't know ball, you gone through this, you don't understand this, and trying to one up each other on like experience and knowledge and all that stuff. It's like no one's thinking about the guys, the men. They're thinking about, hey, my pain is worth more than your success, and my success is worth more than your pain, blah, blah, blah. Right. And I'm like, listen, dude, what about the guys that are watching you? How can you help them? They need your help because you have wisdom, you have a platform and all that stuff. Um, and what can you do? What can they do to become better for themselves and be happier instead of waiting for someone to tell them what to do next? You know? All right.
Stayed in there.
There is the state. So that's what we're arguing from.
Yeah,
That's when you get married. So you're telling me if, and I'm telling you, well, this is what's going to happen. Even if you took Sky Daddy into court with you, they would say you pray to the judge.
How-
The judge is the authority in the court. So the God argument is a nice, interesting argument. And I probably am not going to stay on the conversation very long because that's your God. That's your Sky Daddy. That's your religion. I have a different religion. So who
What does that
gives you
do with
the
anything?
listen? Who gives you the authority to change the understanding, the conversation to your religion? That's your religion.
I'm not changing the conversation.
Okay,
anything.
so it only
We're
works
talking
if
about,
it only works if you believe in your Sky Daddy. That's the only way it works, and that's the only way you're going to advise
well,
men.
we're talking about mitigating risk.
No. We're talking about can men
Mm-hmm.
get into a marriage today only under your Sky Daddy? That's what we're assuming.
Okay.
Now, can they do it otherwise?
Yeah, you can have secular marriage.
All right. So again, this is the next part of the debate that I said. Okay, so the next part is like, well, it's about mitigating risk, and if they see marriage as a conduit to get to God, to get to heaven. Like you need to be married. You can't just because you got to get your needs met, and sex outside of marriage is wrong, right? According to the Bible. So what do? What are you just going to are you just going to just sleep around or just abstain? Like what do you have to do? Well, you have to get married. So in order to get to heaven, essentially, you have to get married. And he's saying like, well, I don't have that reward system. So what now? What's the incentive? I don't have that belief that if I get married, I get to go to heaven. If I sleep with a woman outside of marriage, I don't believe I'm going to hell. I don't believe there's any punishment. So I think it's got to be frustrating for Andrew to try to convince guys of this because his incentive structure to get married it's not the average, it's not the status quo, right? So he'll throw in, hey, well, there is secular marriage and all that stuff, right? But there is no point to secular marriage because it's not within. It's like marriage is a religious thing, right? And I'm here to tell you, like, I don't know, man. Like, I looked at the history of marriage, and marriage just seems a way to like for families to join land and get rich, right? Um, and also you'd have to incentivize men to get married and stuff. So yeah, let's continue.
Okay, go ahead and explain.
Okay, yeah,
Make it work.
I just did. So
Make it work.
The argument that you have is that marriage is great. It's a great institution.
We already covered this.
Well, what made it great?
We already covered
What
this.
made it great?
Can we go into why it would make it work for your secular? That's the question
yeah,
I ask you.
but-
You're asking me questions back. Go ahead and
Okay,
answer the
so,
question.
So if you're talking about secular marriage, there's never been any point to it.
I'm sorry.
There's never been any point to secular marriage, ever. Never. What would ever be the point of secular marriage? It's always been a religious institution. That's what made it great. Now, when you say it's a great institution, what made it great for secularists, other than the fact that Sky Daddy and God had all these enforcement arms and those things had to be enforced socially? Like, for instance, men weren't allowed to run away. And women, right, they had to show cause for these divorces. And they had to be good causes. They had to show it for things like infidelity, right? It was all biblically governed. It was all lawfully governed by this Sky Daddy guy you like so little. But that's what made the institution great in the first place. And what you're talking about here, you're making a point that divorce is bad. And yet, I agree, divorce is bad. So what we're really talking about is how do we mitigate the risk for divorce? And we have two different methods here.
Well, the conversation is marriage good for men. That's the conversation.
But it is.
Okay, so I think Andrew here is saying that like they agree that divorce is like duh, right? That's is and there's no debating that, but is marriage good for men? Um, no. Marriage is for women. Again, the two people that they're, they're arguing their ego investments into marriage and or lack thereof, but they're not arguing like what let's stop being stupid here, right? Let's stop being naive and thinking it's women. Marriage is for women nowadays, right? It is women's retirement plan. Why? Because women have seen other women become that are complete losers get married and their life becomes awesome, right? Women that are alcoholics, women that do drugs from time to time, women that have unprotected sex and have abortions, women that I know because I've dated some of these women, right? And they get into the relationships and life gets so much better for them because that's what marriage is. It's a retirement plan. Again, we're not asking young men what they want because we are already pre-assuming that hey, what you want is a yoke. You want a sacrifice. But I'm telling you, sacrifice for yourself, right? What do you get out of this? What if you get out of anything, right? Like yeah, like Jack says, marriage was a wealth institution. It's like, hey, you had land here and I had land down the road. Um, let's join this so we can have more land, more wealth, more ability to create food and wealth by joining families, right? And then most powerful people in history did it to consolidate power, right? So I think King Harry VIII was like married someone else, and who had like a thousand times his wealth. So they married because like, hey, we gotta, it's not about love. It's about money, wealth, power. That's what marriage always was. So yeah. All right, guys. I think we're gonna skip here. I think the debate's kind of lolling out here a little bit. Let's skip forward.
20-30% of people having affairs. This is not the intent of people who get married. So, yes, we have the divorce. We set that aside. Now, what about within the marriage? How do you mitigate the risk for that? I'm assuming you're going to have the ecclesiastic come through the home and force the wives to fuck their husbands.
Oh, that's quite the straw man. But
I'm assuming.
I'll go ahead and answer. Actually, the ecclesiastical authority does mitigate against this, and here's my proofs. Proof one: if it is the case that you get married to a woman who's a virgin, but she's a virgin because she's a Christian, hang on, let me get through the entirety of the argument before you start freaking out. If it is the case,
Virgins.
your chances of that marriage ending, very, very, very small, one. And two, they report that they have a happier sex life. This is actually the case with the decrease in body count, which generally comes with the more religious people, meaning the more that you take your religion seriously, the more that you pray, the more that you engage in that whole ecclesiastical authority thing, the less likely it is you step out of your marriage, significantly less likely.
Okay, so this is like the blue pill kind of belief that if a woman has a low body count, she's better. It's just pedestalizing purity, right? So this is incredibly dangerous. This is a very dangerous way of thinking that if a woman is a virgin, it's some kind of insurance against her leaving you. And like, because they're talking about mitigating risk and all that stuff. What I'm saying is this, like, again, we're still in women's frame. This whole argument is in women's frame, right? Because uh, we're like trying to can women lie about body count? Sure. Can they lie about being a virgin? Not so easy. To super naive guys that don't understand biology, yes, they could probably lie. Or to guy, even if they have a hymen intact, they could still have given them the butt or done whole everything else but the vagina. And I'm telling you, that's probably more common. I took two virginities in my life, and either way, none of those girls became soul bonded to me or begged for a relationship. They just said, "Tee hee, thank you." They saw me like two or three more times, and then they moved on. Right? Not that I was super invested. They didn't really show much relationship investment or anything like that. But um putting women on purity pedestals, even if they're a virgin, man, is that a big mistake? Because now you've given her power. Now in your mind, you've thought, oh, she's different. She's different. She's not the same as women that have sex, right? She's only had sex with me. And there's no bigger demonstration of lower value, right? than hoping that a woman won't fuck anyone else based on her own morality and and like it's an appeal to authority, right? It's like, please don't, like, if I get a lower body count, she won't leave me, right? And it's just like, who cares? Whose problem is it, guys? Whose problem is it if she leaves you? It's hers. Whose problem is if she fucks 20 dudes and can't, like 100 dudes and can't pair bond? Her problem. It's not you. This is neuroticism on 100%. I don't care. If I meet a girl, I don't care about her body count. I care that I'm having a good time. I care that when I wake up, she brings me coffee. I care that when I say, "Hey, I don't feel like seeing you," she says, "Okay, cool. I respect your time and your space." These are the things that make, because you're gonna see this person every day for who knows how long. And you think that the fact that you broke her hymen is somehow gonna unlock the best human being for you that ever lived? That doesn't even make sense, you know? Okay. So Canary Eighth actually married his sister-in-law. She was married to his brother. He died, but since Prince Isabella brought a huge dowry for 3 years worth of what could be collected from taxes. Yeah, she was balling out. And that's what marriage was consolidating power and resources. Yeah, marriage has never been and never will be about love. It isn't, right? It's about security, resources, and all that stuff. It has nothing to do with love.
Likely, the less likely it is that you end up in a sexless marriage. You know why? Because there's a reinforcement in Christianity that men and women are not allowed to deprive each other of that, of sex, when it comes to marriage. And
All right, then the highest Christian men love OnlyFans, right? And they love their pornography. And women, that's all women bitch about in the Christian spheres on Twitter is porn bad, blah blah blah. And the reason they say that is because they know women are not stupid. They know that they're depriving their husbands. And they're not that attracted to their husbands. So instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to power through. I'm going to pretend to like them. But at the same time, um, you can't negotiate genuine desire. Hell, your body will reject a man. Like you won't even get wet, right? It'll be the driest sex of your life. It'll be painful for you almost, right? So I don't want that for any woman. Like I generally am a compassionate to women in the sense that if my wife stopped being attracted to me and I was an attractive man, like let's say I got my act together, right? And she still didn't want to have sex with me, thought I was disgusting, gave me excuses. I would just say, hey, I don't want to put you through this. I'm leaving because you deserve better than this, and I deserve better than this. So nothing personal, but you deserve to have sex with a guy you like. So I'm going to make it easy for you. So
And you find that people who follow the traditional faith generally don't. And so, yes, the ecclesiastical authority preaches that from the pulpit. Sorry, lady, you got to fuck your husband. That's part of God's law. Yeah. What do you got for him? Go out and just fuck everybody? What? What
That's an interesting
what are
leap.
you going
That's
to
an
do
interesting leap.
to mitigate, by the way? You're at the mercy of the same criticism. You can't mitigate guys' girlfriends from fucking around on them any more than you could a person's wife.
Just a
You
girlfriend.
can't mitigate them stepping out on them. You can't mitigate them treating them
She's
like
just a
shit.
girlfriend.
You can't do anything.
There's
At
no
least I
penalty.
have a mitigation.
okay, so um Andrew Wilson brings up an interesting point. He says it doesn't matter what level of investment you have to a woman, you can't stop what they're gonna do anyway, right? With his belief. And I'm like, yeah, with your belief too. It's both of you, right? Women, religious women do cheat all the time. It's They're not special. They're just women. Like, do they cheat less? Yes, but the cheating is not the problem, guys. It's being with someone. Again, let's go from a red pill perspective of someone who's dated lots of women and understands women. I do not want to be with someone that doesn't want to be with me, right? I can do a month of that. Maybe we fought or maybe something happened where we just lose, kind of like we don't want to have sex with each other or something. But I cannot live with anyone that doesn't want me around them. It sucks. It's horrible. It's like being an orphan that is unwanted, right? So what do we do now? What do we do with this? And the truth is, um, you can't live life thinking that someone else is going to enforce women's behavior. Like, I understand that, like, the pastor and the religion says women right, but, like, I don't that's not what we want. We don't want women we don't want to be women to be enforced to have sex with us. It's so shitty. It's the worst sex of your life. It's painful. Unless you've never had genuine desire, it's one of the worst things like, right now, if I ever slept with a woman and she just looked like she wasn't into it, I would just be like, "Hey," as a matter of fact, I'd be scared. I'd be like, "Maybe this girl's gonna, like, tell someone that I took advantage of her because she just wasn't into it." I do not wanna be with someone that doesn't wanna tear my clothes off. It sucks. It's the worst thing. There's one of the worst things that could ever happen to a man, right? And I don't think that's the answer to just, legislate or force women to have sex with you, because even if you do get the sex, and even if she does it, it's like it's gonna kill you inside, man. I don't know, man. Like, I don't wish that on any man, having sex with a woman that doesn't love you. Just get divorced. Really. Like, obviously, if you're unfuck yourself, right? Run Dread, read Ryan's Dread book, unfuck yourself and all that stuff. But even then, if that still doesn't work, um, you deserve better as a man, as an existence on this planet. It's soul crushing. It will ruin your life. It will ruin your mentality, right? To be married to someone that can't stand the sight of you naked, or your dick, or anything. It's just you feel worthless, and I don't. It's not gonna help you. It's gonna affect the rest of your life, right? So, let's get this $10 super chat.
Thank you so much, best friend!
Ax Patino with the $10. The funny thing about hypergamy is that as men, we build ourselves in order to impress. And if you are fathers to daughters, then you'll help your daughters participate in hypergamy. Prove me wrong. Yeah. So the thing is, we want our daughters to be sluts. I know that's a strong statement. I know, right? It's crazy. But what do you think is going to happen? Let me explain to you guys something. The age at which a woman becomes sexually mature, the age of consent, and the age at which she can either rely on a man or rely on herself, whichever she chooses first, is a very wide gap, right? So when fathers drop off their kids at college, do they really expect them to just wait 4 years and get the first boyfriend that says, "Hey, hello," or his first guy to be their boyfriend to say, "Hey, hello," right? Do men really think? No. Yeah, like, playfully, they'll be like, "Oh, shoot a gun," like the stupid truck nuts masculinity bullshit, right? But the reality is, um, men want their daughters to be sluts, because it's like what a revealed preferences versus stated. We don't want our daughters, but we take them to college, right? Um, we we send them to prom, you know. We let them wear what they want. Like, obviously, some men will be like, "You're not wearing that," blah blah. But most men are just like, "Yeah, honey, whatever you want to do." Like, after 16, it's hard to. There's nothing harder to control than a 16-year-old woman or girl. Sorry. Um, so we actually do aid in women's hypergamy, and it's not like you wanted her to be a slut and just be like, but you want her to find a good guy. And we all know, as men, especially as men that were players, and I know, Alex, you were a player once, that women are not going to marry the first guy they sleep with. And often they don't marry the guy they um, enjoy sleeping with initially, right? And that's just life. And the only thing we can do is tell our daughters, like, "Hey, um, I think you should sleep with guys that you're attracted to, like guys that arouse you, right? Here's what happens if you don't use protection. Here's what happens if you fall in love with a guy like this. Here's what happens when you don't do this. And I love you, and just call me from time to time. Come for Christmas and Thanksgiving, and do your best, right?" In my dating life, especially with like Latinas, I was kind of astounded at how many of them were so excited and talked about their dads they loved their dads so much. And I'm like, "Oh, where is your dad?" "Oh, he's with his other family." I'm like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, he has another family, but I can't wait to see him. I'm gonna go visit him next week." Right? Um, yeah, and then I've met women that their dad was like a family man, just retired the mom early, family man, traditional marriage. And the dad, she was like, "Ugh, my dad is such a weirdo," or "My dad is this." Like so many complaints, and I've seen women who have dads who have had second families and neglected them a little bit, but they love their dad, right? And I think it goes to show you that being a guy that's a player and charming and in his own mental point of origin, right? Your kids will respect that so much to the point that they'll forgive neglect, right? Um, I'm not going to talk about my parents, but I will say there were times where I thought, well, I wish my mom and dad kind of like did a little bit more. That's normal. We're all kids. They did more than enough, but there were times where I'm like, hey, I need them to do more. And looking back, I think most men see their dad, as long as the dad wasn't a complete dad meat. And look, I wish dad would have done more for himself. I wish dad would have bought himself a new computer. I wish dad would have taken that fishing trip, or I wish dad would have spent more time with his friends, and really everyone is afraid of what our kids will think if we let them do whatever they want, or we control them and don't control them enough. I just explain to them what it is, man. Like, hey, mi amor, like to your daughter, mi amor, if you're gonna like hot guys, tall guys, the guys are gonna say what you want to hear. Just try to find a guy that calls you back. Like don't bang losers. I don't want my daughter to bang losers. I want her to bang winners. Sorry, right? I just be smart. Don't become a single mom at 20, and you know what to do. What you got to do, right? Be smart, and no matter what happens, I'll still love you. So, and I've always had this feeling that if I ever have daughters, they're gonna be obsessed with me. Not because but for no reason than that I'm likable. I've always been likable to women, and I know this because my father, whenever he visits Dominican Republic and he visits my mom's side of the family, it's like 7 women. She has like 6 sisters, 6 or 7 sisters, right? 2 passed away. And they love him. They wanna hang out with him, and, they treat him like a brother. They can't get enough of my dad. My dad is awesome. He's like the brother that they never well, we have a brother, but I think he has, autism, a severe autism and all that stuff, right? But they love him, right? And they like my dad, and they treat him like the older brother they never had, and, you know, my dad loves them, and it's crazy how skills with women and being charming and likable and understanding them pass on to your daughters and female family members and distant relatives. Like even when I go see my cousins, very rarely I see them, but I've seen my cousin. I'll see my cousins, right? And they follow me on my personal social media, and they come up to me and they ask me guy advice, like, "Hey," very shy. It's cute. It's like, "Hey, Nuke, like I got this guy. What do you think?" Right? And these, my cousins are these curvy Dominican women, and I'm sure they got like guys in their DMs and all that stuff. One of them's getting married in March too. God bless her. But yeah, she's one of them is just asking me for advice and all that stuff, and I think it's adorable, right? And if you guys are honest with women and honest about who you are, not always trying to approval seeking behavior, and just be the man, be awesome, charming, likable, tease your wife, tease your daughters, tease everyone, make fun of everyone, but in good faith, you'll realize that women just will like you more across the board. My female friends love me. Um, my mom loves talking to me and all that stuff. Everyone. And really you'll realize that it's too much. Like now I'm in my point of my life where women used to not like me so much. And now I'm in the point of my life where every woman I meet wants to be my friend and and my female friends want to hang out and all that, and they want to take selfies and all that stuff. And it's just this is where we want to be. Stop shaming women, stop trying to control everything, and just treat them as people. And you realize, like, hey, in the end, getting laid is different because getting laid is like it's a different set of skills. But becoming likable is something that everyone's gonna like you for. So I don't know how we got that far into that, but thanks, Alex. Anyways.
You have nothing. You have nothing. Just liberal degeneracy. Give me something. Something you could do that would give any sort, any kind of failsafe against this. One thing.
I don't know what communities you live in, but your church pastor is going to be very busy walking in all of these bedrooms, preventing divorce and enforcing women to sleep with their husbands. Now, the first leap
like you
of
didn't even
faith that
hear
you
a word I
have,
said.
hold on for a second. Oh, I heard you. The first leap of faith is virgin. Okay, if we look at the stats, please pull up the stats of how many women qualify
It doesn't
as a
hinge
virgin.
on virginity.
You said
That's the
virginity. I'm just
baseline.
letting you know.
Oh my
You
God.
brought it up.
In
Now,
America,
in America, what women percentage qualify as virgins? All right, so you're gonna say very few. So you know this.
7%, age 22 to 34.
7%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know what?
So now we have.
God, this guy. Do you know what a baseline for an argument is?
That was the baseline.
Yeah,
You
and
want to say
so
now? Do we want to
the
increase the
base-
body count?
yeah,
I mean,
the-
because
yes,
if you're looking,
that was the whole point of the baseline of the argument.
So right now, if we can pull up how many women in Gen Z, because this is marital age women, would have a body
That's
count
not the only
lower than 5.
No,
because
millennials
now
are
we're
also marriageably aged. What do you mean?
okay. Millennials.
So we're into the body count and all that stuff. Where marriage debates always go here, where it's like, hey, statistically speaking, if a woman has, was it 3 or more partners? I don't know, 5 or more partners. She has a 20, like these numbers, right? And I'm like, listen, dude, like stats don't help you. You can't bring stats to a date. You can't bring stats to an argument with your wife. You can't bring stats to the divorce court. You can't bring stats. Do nothing. They're just an interesting little metric that you see in a or like in a magazine and be like, oh, interesting, and you move on, right? You are on your own. You cannot stop using probability, these random numbers and all that stuff, right? If you like a certain demographic of women that may has a higher propensity to get divorced, right? Like you not wanting to do that is the reason you'll probably get divorced. You lack being your own point of origin. You do what you want on your terms, and you realize that it may not work out. And being neurotic about like the outcome independence. Neither of these guys are outcome independent, right? I am ready to deal with the consequences. I'll try to mitigate them, within reason. But it is what it is. Right, and another thing, ultimately, you'll never know her body count. I don't care how honest the woman is. You will never know her body count. Even if you'll never know she's a virgin because she couldn't have given up the butt, right? So there's nothing you can do, guys. They own this forever. There's nothing you can do. Women will lie. Hell, they even forget about who they slept with. There's nothing you can do. Absolutely nothing. So that's it. All right.
Millennials, younger
Yeah,
millennials,
yeah.
okay, because there's no point in older people getting married. They're not procreating. All right, they're gonna have 1 or 2 kids.
Older
That doesn't
people
help
do
us.
procreate.
Not that much. All right,
That's
they're gonna
true,
have 1 or
but
2 kids.
that's
All
it.
right, listen, it said in the
What do you
Bible, in
mean?
your Bible, it says
Yeah.
be fruitful and multiply, not add. All right, we're not adding one little autistic kid. We're multiplying.
That would be
All right?
multiplying.
No, it wouldn't be multiplying.
Yes, it
Having
would.
one little bright
if you
ass
have
kid.
3 and you have 1 more, that's
All right,
multiplying.
however, multiplying by 1. All right, that's
So
not an answer.
multiplying.
Okay, listen. We're multiplying
Okay.
by multiples. You know what I'm talking about. Now listen.
Yeah, that is a
you
multiple
want,
that
the,
we're
hold on for a second.
multiplying
Hold on for a second. You want to convince me that there's going to be women of low body count in this secular world we live in to make your scenario
They're more
work,
likely
to
to-
enforce women to have
Yeah.
sex with their
They're gonna be
husband
more
from
like-
the pulpit.
Yeah.
Do you see? This is very strange.
I have
from
all
a
the data
secular
to back
person.
my. Show me
from
anything.
a very small percentage. I mean,
So men here, men are no longer responding to shame to get married or to societal pressure. And I think that's where the fear is. And when men don't respond to societal pressure, that's really alarming to people, right? How many articles, how many political issues or anything are because men used to do something and now they don't do it anymore, whether it be work, whether it be go to school, whether it be get married, whether it be go to the military. Like every time men abstain from doing something that men used to do, right? Um, People are like, oh, like what's going on, right? And the reason that it is this way, guys, is because they are entitled to your sacrifice again, to yoke you and to keep you down. When men do sacrifice, everything's like, oh, cool, right? Have you ever had something really nice or something you're used to, like a luxury, and then it get taken away, and you're just like, what the heck, right? Like, have you? Okay, when I start my truck, I have an iPhone cable that I use to connect to the truck, and I have the screen and all that stuff, right? The Apple Connect bullshit, whatever, right? For like a year, that stuff would connect every single time, and I'd be like, "This is awesome." It connects, but like the last 2 weeks, it connects and disconnects randomly while I'm driving, and I'm telling you, nothing pisses me off more. Like, it's one of those things that'll ruin my commute to work when I'm just driving, listening to a podcast or listening to music or a phone call, and all of a sudden it disconnects, and I have to like, now I'm driving on the highway. I gotta get my phone, try to reconnect and all that stuff because my iPhone cable no longer works, and that's frustrating, right? Because I was used to something that was working, that did its job, and then when it stopped doing it, I was like that much more angry because I had such a belief that this cable would work that when it didn't, it threw me for a loop, and it ruined my commute to work. So the same thing with male sacrifice stuff. Society's gotten so used to men giving everything for nothing that the minute that men slowly start walking away from things that they're like, hey, I don't get much out of this, we're getting emotional and angry and telling men there's something wrong with them. Just the same way I say, hey, this iPhone cable is only a year old. What's wrong? This is stupid. Why isn't this working? Right? That's what men see women as. Like, hey, you're a machine. You're an apparatus. You're designed to sacrifice. Why are you not working? And they kick the machine to see if it works. And they're like, this is stupid. And then they think they're broken. The machine is broken. I'm like, no, it's just we're men. We have we have brains, we are logical, and yes, we like women, but not enough to the point where we are walking away, right? And that's good. So
It works in a podunk town. I
It
don't know
doesn't
where
just
you're
work in a
from.
podunk
We're
town.
talking about the metropolises, and we're talking about major
And
cities.
how is your
And you're talking
plan going to
about
mitigate
virginity.
that? How is your
I
plan
asked
going to
you.
mitigate
Remember,
that?
I don't know if you remember. I asked you. All right,
And I
this is
told
the question
you.
and you came back with virgins.
No.
And you came back with
Oh my God.
enforcing
Why
sex
do
from
you
the
only give
pulpit.
half the argument? That's why you can't respond to my arguments. So let's do it again. If you want to
Please.
mitigate.
Force women to have loaded body
You're
counts.
not, dude. How's it force?
Go ahead.
How's it force?
You're the one enforcing sex
How
with the
is
husband.
it? How are we
enforce
using force?
How are you enforcing sex to the
Through
husband from the pulpit?
through social pressure, doofus. The same way you would with
Okay,
everything.
gentlemen, your wife is going to have sex with you because church reverend enforced her to have sex with you.
Do you think?
Okay, please pull up the chat.
Yeah, pull
His
up the chat.
suggestion is to have a church reverend enforce you
They're
to
not
have burning
enforcing it.
desire to have sex with your
Enforce
husband.
requires force. Enforce.
all right, I don't know. I'm kind of losing the thread here about what each other's trying to say, but you cannot enforce women's behavior, right? You can only incentivize. Women are only going to go or ascribe to things that they deem as beneficial to them. So that's all you got, right? So you have to so people are doing that, right? So the church can only get women to stay or participate if they make the church very uh you know appealing to women. And here's what I say about everything in terms of appealing to women. It is easier to sell to just women than it is to sell to men and women, right? Because of our differences in biology and what appeals to us, selling to women and selling to men together is incredibly difficult, right? Look at IPs like Star Wars. Star Wars, what do we like? What do men like? Well, we like explosions, we like space battles, we like technical things, we like planning, we like the hero's journey, we like hot chicks, all that stuff, right? Betrayal, normal story tropes. What do women like? Women like being divas. Women like that a girl is just awesome, the Mary Sue. Women like being forgiven for everything. Women like being hoes and still getting the guy at the end. That's hard to squeeze into both of those things into a movie, right? It's very difficult. So, guys, that these companies, whether they sell soap or movies or marriage or where they sell, um, they have a dilemma because they're trying to tell men and women together, hey, um, get married, right? But you can't sell to both very easily because when they say both, like Andrew's saying, hey, ladies, men like that you have low body counts, and men, you have to sacrifice and you have to do more and you have to stop sleeping around in order to get the woman. Um, both of those things are difficult to sell together, packaged up, right? Because you're telling women to go for unattractive men, which are men with low body counts, and you're telling women and you're telling men to kind of yoke themselves and be on the hook for a divorce and all that stuff, right? So where does this take us, right? It's easier to just sell to women. Women will buy because women have more purchasing power. They don't need our money. So let's just make the female character, let's just make the main character female, right? And let's let her kiss the villain and change his mind and defeat the villain just because she's awesome and she's a girl, right? Same thing with marriage. Instead of us trying to sell it to men, let's just sell it to women by telling women, hey, you're awesome. Men aren't good enough, and you know it, and you have to help men and guide them and be the rock for them and blah, which means they have to listen to you. And that's very appealing to women, especially women that who spend their 20s fucking and doing anything but what God said. And then they get to an age where they no longer can compete in the sexual marketplace like they used to, and now it's very appealing to women to come to church and be like, hey, you men got to step up. Of course, that's appealing. But if we sold only to men, we get canceled, or men wouldn't eat, still wouldn't buy, or men would buy, but then it would backfire on them and all that stuff, right? So here you go.
Is a derivative of force. You can't enforce absent force. No one's saying force.
This is how your sex is going to be had in his marriage.
Uh-huh.
It's through enforcement, through the religious pulpit.
No, it's going to be
this
the
is
idea.
2025, and we're still here somewhere on Little House on the Prairie.
If it's the idea,
I would love to have
women
this reality.
If it's the idea that women have and men have both, that they're not supposed to deprive each other from this, because that is how they live the life of a Christian. The case of the matter is that they try to keep themselves sexually appealing to the partner. They try to keep themselves moving towards that state where they're found appealing. That's part of that. Why do you think? And by the way, you keep saying force. Can you demonstrate anywhere that I said that there would be any force involved with any of this, or that it's even necessary? Enforce is force.
Correct. That's what. So I was
So
correct
where is the force? Where?
You tell me. You're the one.
You're
that's
asked the question.
Wait, you're the one that told me the church reverend is going to come and force marriage.
No.
and sex.
When?
You said that earlier.
No. I said the ecclesiastical authority uses social pressures.
Social pressure
That's
to
not
make your
force.
wife fuck your husband.
No, you're not making them do anything.
Okay, to encourage them to fuck their
Yeah.
husband. Okay, this.
Don't you encourage people's wives to fuck them?
I don't need to be in their bedrooms that much.
Yeah,
I can't force
if
her to do anything. Listen, I can't force
you,
a woman to do
if
very much.
If a woman called you and said, "I don't sleep with my husband. He seems angry at me," would you encourage her to sleep with him?
I wouldn't encourage her to do anything, especially with
you
me. I don't mess with.
I
don't mess with married women. That's their
brilliant.
business.
So your solution is fucking nothing. Nothing.
My solution is very clear.
What is it?
You're telling me at this particular point that you're going to enforce through social pressure. Social pressure.
That's not force.
Hold on for a second. Social pressure enforces women to be very promiscuous at this particular point. Now, you're talking about 7% of the population or better, maybe 10, that are going to fall under this category, and this is going to lead a wave of women sleeping with their husband through social pressures, when social pressure quite tells them the opposite. Let me handle
I don't even know what the hell you're talking about at this point.
Exactly. It's very difficult. I know.
It's
very difficult for you. I know, exactly. And very nice tactic. But listen,
it's not a tactic. I'm trying my hardest to understand.
You're taking a very small scenario to make it the large scenario. When I'm telling you the larger scenario is the reality, and you're telling me
both
if
the reality.
I do this, if I do that.
No,
this is a very small percentage.
You're doing the same
I'm
thing.
telling you about
if
what's
you get
happening.
married, you may get a divorce.
No, I said
when. If this happens, then this may happen.
All right, it's getting heated. It's getting a little out of control here, but essentially, what we're talking about is female agency here is just like, hey, women are not exactly able to be controlled by social pressure. Um, I understand this is the biggest thing that men need to understand, and I see this with conservative men or any like, dude, all of them. Whether it be these weird groper kids or these guys that follow this guy or religious guys, right-wing guys, they all think they can shame women into compliance. Women are not going to self-subjugate. They only care about the opinion of men they're fucking, and even then, it's like, I sort of care about his opinion, right? The only way you can control women, and even then, who cares, right? Is walking away, right? And men are already doing that. Men are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. When something is not working for them, they walk away. That's all you got. It doesn't matter what or who or what really. It's just we walk away. That's what we do, and it's not like we do it maliciously. We realize, hey, this is not working for me. I'm not happy or it doesn't seem like a good deal. Maybe it could be for some people, but for most people, it's not. Doesn't seem like it's worth my time or my resources. I gotta walk away. It's just not worth it. And that's how you enforce behavior with women, walking away from them, right? And the thing is, you walk away not because you want to enforce behavior in the first place. It's because it's what's best for you, right? And that's the issue here. Like, I think what's best for men is not being discussed here because um if you wanted to get married again and you were set on it, I can't tell you no. I'm gonna be like, hey, dude, like it's not a good deal for you, but I could tell you know what you're in for. Pay a divorce lawyer 2 hours of his time and sit down and be like, what am I on the hook for? Right? What could happen? What should I think about? Um, and that will get you more informed and more power. And here's, I think we kind of understand where this debate's going to go, right? It's going to get heated. It's going to talk about female, like it's always like female agency, prenups actually work, mitigating risk, blah blah blah, all these things, right? But think of it like this, guys. Whenever you doubt the direction or what you should do in a situation or when someone presents to you stuff like this, like a debate, think rule zero. How does this increase my options, my sexual options? How does this give me a positive male identity? So meaning, does being afraid of marriage to the point where I tell their man not to get married, it's the worst thing ever, and build my brand on being afraid, is that a positive male identity? I don't know. I don't know. I'm neutral on that. I'm like, hey, maybe he seems to be a well cleaned up guy. He's very succinct. He has kept his cool during this debate, and he doesn't seem like the type of guy that's unsuccessful with women. So maybe he does have a positive male identity, and he seems to. I think he coaches female volleyball or female basketball, so he's not a weirdo. He's not a weird shut it, right? And then for Andrew, he is a father. He is living the life he wants. He is doing what he wants on his terms, right? He also does he also have a positive male identity, right? Maybe. I don't know. It's up to him. But also those things are debatable. What about you? What about your positive male identity? And think about it like this. In order for you to be successful with marriage or with women or in life or just dealing with this issue that we got, because we can't change women. You can't. You can't enforce shit. No one, they don't give a shit, right? They don't care about your opinion. Um, if you do decide to date women and get involved with women and eventually marry, think about it like this. What set of behaviors, decisions, and options gives you more, sorry, and decisions gives you more sexual options in the marketplace, more power, right? And through this is going to get you better outcomes. And that's all you got. No amount of statistics, no amount of God or lawyers or prenups, none of that that's all like little details that help you along the way. It is having the mentality of how does this make my life better? And the reason guys watch debates like these is because they are still they still feel obligated to make their mind up about this, right? It is much more masculine and cooler to just let a woman convince you to get married. She will thank you for it. She wants to be the one to convince you. She wants to take the guy that no girl could lock down and lock him down herself. Right? That is her fantasy. And she's gonna relive that very often with you when you're married and older and all that stuff. So power and options is the most important thing here. It's not it's not like, hey, you have to it's not like, hey, you have to listen to me or listen to blah blah blah. It's just like, listen, regardless of who you listen to, whether you agree with Coach Greg Adams or Andrew Wilson, whoever background you have on marriage and all that stuff, who cares? You should be focused on options, getting more power in the sexual marketplace, right? Your focus should be, how do I stand out? How do I make women not take me for granted? The women I date. And that's on you. And no amount of statistics can give that to you, no amount of mitigating risk. It is, what can I do personally as a man instead of stop blaming external forces or trying to use them to win, and instead say, me as a man, what can I do to get a better outcome? And that's all you got. It's not 100%, but it's hell of a lot better than just navel gazing and spouting statistics and morality and all that stuff. Because as you can see, morality is in those that have power, right? So who has power in a marriage? Women, right? Women have power, so they set the morality. Um, and whoever sets the morality, they get to decide whether something's good or bad, right? So you providing could be seen as good, or it could be seen as bad. You being a religious man could be seen as good or could be seen as bad because they are the ones that set the morality, and that's right. And some of you are going to feel relief at that statement. Some of you are going to get mad, but it is what it is. So what can you do? Um, Look at what powers you have: walking away, becoming attractive, having options. All these things give you power. And when I say power, I don't mean like, like you're fighting your wife or women in general, like you're in some kind of Yu-Gi-Oh duel where she puts down a card, you're like, aha, I have six-pack abs. You cannot leave me because now you're trapped with my trap card, whatever. No, it's, hey, I'm not worried about it because now that I know I have a lot of sexual options and power in the marketplace, if you decide to stop loving me and leave me, I can get a girl like you soon, right? And that will preclude any debate because now you've changed it to, I am the prize. I am the guy that women want to be with, if and they got to be smart enough to get me. And if a woman decides to leave me, I can have another better girlfriend pretty quickly if I so choose. So, yeah. Let's go. I don't think there's much else. This debate's gonna just keep following. I'm gonna skip ahead and see how heated it gets.
It can
But
be.
it's only the churches that could get
Hold on
this
for a
done.
second. No, not really. But in this situation
Show me
here, I
anybody else who
agree.
could.
I agree with that scenario. I proposed that many years ago. However, you're gonna be hard pressed for women to actually pick that. Although they're not going to college, they're trending down in college. They're probably not going to complete one of these liberal arts degrees. What you're probably going to see them do, they're still going to Coachella. They're still selling coochie. They're out here being sugar babies. They're going to OnlyFans.
Same
Some
problem
of them
with
are
oversaturation,
Yeah,
though.
exactly. So it'll get oversaturated. Now you kick the can down the road to what the next thing is. I don't see the women seeing that college is prohibitive to them jumping into traditional marriages. I
Yeah,
don't see that trend.
But that was the same argument which made in the 90s to men, that they would not that the trades were going by the wayside and they all needed to get a college degree, when in fact the opposite ended up happening. Now they're all moving towards trades in lieu of the college degree because of
That's the men.
oversaturation.
Correct.
There's no reason for us to believe that if it's the case that women have the option and the propaganda behind it for them to get married at a younger age, right? Defer that with incentives. We can give all sorts
What type
of
of
incentives
incentives
for
would
this.
you give for
oh,
this?
man. You first of all, you can give tax exemptions, for instance. You could say,
These women don't pay taxes even when they make millions. On
yeah,
OnlyFans.
but the thing that's
Yes, they don't catch up to them, but they don't pay the taxes.
yeah,
they're
so,
not
well,
taxpayer, yeah.
well, they do have to pay property tax on the houses they get from their husbands when they divorce them. So
If they
anyway,
get married, then
the thing is what you could do is in Poland did this, and they had a pretty good degree of success, up almost 0.5%, moving and trending towards almost 1%, which is huge in such a short amount of time. They gave tax exemption, and you can pull this up if you want. They gave tax exemption if you had more than X number of children. I think it was.
All right, so yeah, we're getting into nitty gritty. None of this is, kind of relevant or useful. But guys, I already said what I was gonna say. You guys can watch debates. You guys can enjoy them. Cool, whatever. But it's on you. Um, if you guys don't know what frame is, mental point of origin, you better start reading on that shit, and you better start becoming a guy who's his own mental point of origin, lest you wait for someone to try to convince you that is not a girl to try to get married. Um, relationship is her problem. Who cares? Getting married, not my problem to think about. It's hers. One day I may want to wake up and be like, hey, let's get married. Sure. Because you've convinced me. And that's exactly what women want, even though they'll never state it outright. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, Linktree is pinned. Follow me on all my socials. Leave a comment below if you liked what we talked about and all that stuff. Like the video on the way in or on the way out. And guys, thank you for participating and all that stuff. So, yeah.